Good evening, everybody. I just came in. I'm setting up the live stream on mine, so we'll get started here in about 5 minutes. So is everybody excited to get school started back? There's no cheers or anything, so I guess that's my answer. All right, we're waiting another couple of minutes for everybody to get there. I just wanted to mention real quickly, right here on our webpage, this is our webpage for Piedmont Governor's School, www.pgsmst.com. I sent this in the letter with the schedule and everything, but I just want to kind of remind everyone tonight, if you have not already done so, if you please go to this webpage and click on this link right here where it says PGS Student Information Form and fill that out. One of the things I'll talk about tonight is I think one of the misconceptions that a lot of folks have coming to governor's school is that the school divisions share all of the contact information, phone numbers, all that sort of stuff with us. They don't, so we have to collect all that information from our students as they enter into governor's school each year. So this is just so that we can get all the important contact information and things that I need to send things out to you all periodically throughout the year. So if you haven't already done so, just later on tonight or sometime this week, if you would please just go to our website. The link is right there on the main page. Just click on that. Yeah, it'll take a couple of moments to fill in some information, and that way we can have all the information we need to be able to we send out, kind of like the base school divisions. I send out, it's alert calls, when necessary, emails, we mail things to you all, obviously. It's all those different things. That helps us to make sure we have all the up-to-date information. All right, well, I've got 6 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get started so that honor everybody's time. And I thank you all for coming out here this evening. Probably a lot of people are probably out getting some last minute vacations in. I just came back from vacation a couple of weeks ago. So as we're kind of getting here into August, getting school started. But this is the first time that I've done this. This is my 3rd year here at Governor's School. Of course, last year with COVID, I didn't have the opportunity to really have any kind of meetings with students coming in. But it was something that I really saw a big need. Because coming to Governor's School is a transition. Just like, there goes the air. Just like when you start entering from elementary school to middle school, that's a transition. When you go from middle school to high school, it's a transition. Coming from 9th and 10th grade to Governor's School is a transition as well. And what I have noticed and what I have seen throughout the last couple of years being here at Governor's School is that there are some growing pains that students experience, but there's also some differences too in Governor's School. And so tonight, what I want to do is share with you all just some information about some operational procedures and things that we do here at Governor's School, and kind of how things work. And then also talk a little bit and give you all some information about just the transition process and give you all some pointers and tips and things that I have seen and former students have told me throughout the last couple of years to help aid in that transition from going from 10th grade and regular high school to coming here to Governor's School here on the campus of Patrick Henry Community College. And then at the end, if you all have any questions for me, feel free to throw them my way and I will answer them the best that I can. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to find one out for you as later on and get back with you. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about, this is going to be very quick, is the structure and purpose of academic year Governor's School programs. So as you probably remember from way back in January when we did the Zoom open house recruitment meetings and all that, I talked about that Piedmont Governor's School is one of 19 academic year Governor's School programs in the state of Virginia. And they all kind of have the same purpose, and that is to provide an accelerated, advanced academic program for high achieving, highly motivated, and academically gifted students. So each of you all sitting here tonight, you fit into that category. You've been identified as highly gifted, achieving, motivated students, and that's what's gotten you into this place right there. And that's awesome, and that's great. And that's what Governor's School was designed for, and that's what every Governor's School in the state of Virginia is there for. And the other thing about Governor's School is it is a regional program. So here at Patrick Henry, we have students from 2 different school divisions, Henry and Martinsville City, coming here to take classes here all together. At my other sites down the road, I have students from Danville and Pennsylvania County students that come together to take classes. So it is a regional program. It's a collection of those 4 school divisions that come together to pull together their resources in order to offer this program. And the reason why it's structured that way is because by putting resources together, it allows us to be able to offer a very advanced program. Whereas if one school division tried to do it by themselves, they may not be able to do that. Or if each of the school divisions try to do them individually, they may not be able to hire enough physics teachers or hire enough calculus teachers and whatnot. So it enables us to put our resources together and offer this program for students in all 4 of the school divisions that I work with. So because it's a regional program and it's structured, one thing I wanted to just kind of mention, because it's one thing, misconception that I've seen a lot in the last couple of years. We don't belong to any one school division. So here at Piedmont Governor School, we don't belong to Henry County. We don't belong to Martinsville. We don't belong down the road. We don't belong to Pennsylvania County or Danville City. We are independent of any of the four school divisions that we work with. And that's one misconception. I think a lot of people, especially around here, think, we work for Henry County Public Schools. We don't. I don't work for Henry County Public Schools. My teachers don't. We work for Piedmont Governor School. We kind of work within our own little organization. Now, we are a public, school division in the state of Virginia, kind of like that. And so we do have a governing board that's made up of representatives of the four school divisions that participate in Piedmont Governor School. The two representatives from this site, from Martinsville City, it's Yvonne Gibbons. She is our representative from Martinsville City. She's also our chairperson currently. And then for Henry County, it's Ben Bradley as our governing board member. And so we have two other governing board members from our Danville site. So we meet about every other month, and they help direct policy and oversight over the program. And so the main point of this is that all of our school divisions work together to provide this service. But because, like I said, we don't belong to one single school division, there are some differences in some of the things that we do here at Piedmont Governor School. It's a little bit different than what you may be used to at your base school division. So that kind of leads to the second part that I wanted to kind of share with you all tonight, and that is some of our procedures and things that we do here at Piedmont, so that you all are aware of that and some of the kind of the ways that we do some things a little bit maybe slightly different than what you're accustomed to at your home school division, where you're coming from. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is the daily schedule here at Piedmont Governor School. Our day starts at 7:45 a.m., okay? And especially for the kids looking at that, they're like, oh my gosh, that is so early. Why do y'all start so early? And the answer to that question is we have to start early in order to give our students time to get back to their base high school for their third block classes in the afternoon. Okay, so as you can see up here, we end our second block class at 11. Generally, we actually here at this site begin just a couple minutes early, just to give students enough time, plenty of time to be able to travel back to their base school and go to their third block class. Now, we do have a little bit of a break between first and second block. We give about 15 minutes, particularly here at PH. And the reason why we do that is because your classes are here on the PH campus, and they're kind of contained in some different buildings. And so we want to make sure that students have enough travel time to get from their first block class in the morning to their second block class. Okay? We do ask that students do not arrive to PH any earlier than 7:30. Do not arrive at like 7:25, 7:15, anything like that. The reason being is that campus security generally does not unlock the doors until about 7:30. And my staff, they're not supposed to report until 7:30. So a lot of them get here earlier than that, but that's when they have to actually be here. So we ask the students, do not get here to campus any earlier than 7:30 in the morning. Okay. And I will say, I'm not your base school principal, so I might be speaking a little bit out of line on this. You do have ample time to get back to your base high school, provided that you don't make a detour to Chick-fil-A on the way there. Okay, so it is the expectation that when classes are dismissed here at Governor School, you travel directly back to your base high school. Don't make any little detours on the way. I can tell you, I came from Henry County Schools. I was an administrator at Bassett High School before I came here. I know I can't speak for Martinsville, but I know Henry County will count you tardy. That will start racking up if you start arriving late back to your base high school. So make sure that when classes are dismissed here, you go directly back to your base high school. All right, so the other thing, and you probably noticed this a little bit when you got your schedules in the mail the other week, is our schedule. You all are probably familiar with the block schedule, and that is you have 4 classes, 90-minute blocks for an entire semester, and after the semester changes, then you take another 4 classes for 90 days, 90-minute blocks. We do the block schedule as well, but we do what's called an A-B block schedule. And so what that means is that you have A days and B days here at Governor School. Your A days are on Mondays and Wednesdays. Your B days are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you have your A-day classes. You have 2 classes on your A days that you'll go to those 2 classes, the first and second block. Then on your B days, you have 2 other of your 4 classes that are assigned. You'll go to them on your Tuesdays and Thursdays, which are your B days. Now, one of the questions I always get is, well, what do we do about Fridays? So we handle Fridays by alternating between A and B days. So on our first week of school, that first Friday will be an A Friday. So you will go to your A-day classes that are listed on your schedule on that first Friday. And then the following week, second week of school, then you'll go to your B-day classes that are listed on your schedule, your Tuesday, Thursday classes. And then we just go on that little flip-flopping, alternating schedule for the rest of the year. A-day, B-day. It sounds kind of confusing right now, but trust me, as you start kind of getting into it, the students that kind of get into it, they kind of figure it out, they kind of get the groove. And the teachers, they do remind you, hey, remember, this week's an A day, this week's a B day. And so make sure that you get to the right place and go to the right class on the right day. Or if you don't go, then they'll kind of look at you really funny and be like, why are you here? Today's an A day. I'm your B day teacher. So, that's the important thing. That's how we deal with Fridays. It all adds up to the same amount of time as it would be in a 4x4 block schedule, which is what you have at your base high schools. You'll be in each of your classes for 90 days throughout the course of the year. Now, the last thing on there, our classes, most of our classes here at Governor's School are meet for the entire year. So to give you an example, all of you all are taking chemistry, college chemistry this year as juniors. That class meets for the entire year. So you will start taking chemistry in August, and you'll be in chemistry all the way to the end of May when our school year ends. So that's a full year class. And by that, with that A-B alternating schedule, it'll be 90 days just as if you took college chemistry at the base high school. Now, we do have a couple of classes, particularly in our junior year, that are only semester long. For example, each junior takes what we call the research classes. So some of you all have Research 11 on your schedule. Some of you all may have what's called statistical reasoning on your schedule. Each of those are kind of what we call our research kind of grouping. Those are only for a semester. So one semester you'll take one of those 2 classes, and then after the Christmas break, when you come back, you'll go on the other. But we'll walk you through and tell you which one's which to make sure that you're all in the right place and not lost and confused and all that. But that's kind of how our schedule works right there. Now, the next thing kind of procedure I want to talk about is transportation. Each of our base school divisions do provide bus transportation for students that need it. However, they do, because of our early start time, they do not do door-to-door pickup. So you have to get to your high school first. Okay, so you have to get to your high school. They will pick you up at the high school and then shuttle you here to PH, and then we'll shuttle you back to your base high school after when Governor's School classes are over. So that is an option for any students that need bus transportation to and from Governor's School. If you need bus transportation, I do ask that you let me or my administrative assistant know, Mrs. East, that you need bus transportation before the start of school, because I will be communicating that with both school divisions, bus garages, transportation departments, so to make sure they know how many students to expect on that first week in terms of the buses. Now, also, one benefit of Governor's School, though, is that students at Governor's School are allowed to drive to Patrick Henry Community College. You may have some friends that might be in ACE Academy or might be taking some other dual enrollment classes here at PH. They can't drive. Okay, PH does not allow them to drive. They only allow Governor's School students to drive to campus. So if you have your license, you have a car, you can drive here to Governor's School each and every day. Okay. However, a couple of things. The most important thing is to remember about that. One, arrive on time. Our classes start at 7:45. Our teachers get right to it at 7:45. So we do count tardies and we do report tardies to your high school if you do come in after 7:45. So please make sure if you're a driver that you come here on time. The other thing, and this is very important here at PH, please follow the campus rules and guidelines. There is campus security police here at PH. They do like to sit in hide little places and monitor people driving in, and they will pull somebody over. If you notice on the drive in, the speed limit is 25 coming down that road, not 55. And they will stop somebody. And they inevitably, I'll just tell you, they will hide and kind of monitor traffic, especially when they know the governor schools and PH classes as a whole start. So make sure that you're following the rules, and really not just because of that. There, especially when PH classes start in the latter half of August, there's going to be a lot of pedestrian traffic on campus. So that's the most important thing, especially when you're leaving, to make sure you're following the rules and you're driving slow and careful and paying attention to what's going on and who's walking around and things like that on campus. So make sure you follow all those. Now, the other thing, they do ask that students that drive that they park in this upper parking lot behind the west building. So when you leave this building tonight, if you just look straight out this direction, go all the way to the end, that's the parking lot they want Governor School students to park in. It's right there on the back side of the west building. And it's really the best place for Governor School students to park because most of your classes are going to be in the west building anyway. So that just, it just gets you right close to where you need to be for your first classes in the morning. So that's where PH does ask the students who drive to campus where they park. All right, the next thing is the academic calendar. Because we are a shared program between 4 school divisions, each school division creates their own calendar. That means that each school division has 4 different calendars with 4 different days off, holidays, start dates, you name it. I mean, it's crazy how much difference can be in 4 school divisions calendar and basically the same kind of driving distance near each other. I try as much as I humanly can to make the governor's school calendar mirror the base school calendars as much as I possibly can each year, but I cannot make it exactly match all 4 school divisions. So that means that governor's school has a separate academic calendar from the base school divisions. And there are going to be days throughout the course of the school year where a student's going to have governor's school classes, but they may not have classes at their base high school because their base high school division has a student holiday that day, or vice versa. Governor's school may have a student holiday, but their base high school may have classes in session. Like, for example, as you all probably have already kind of seen, Henry County is not starting until August 16th, I think it is. We start on August the 9th. And that's simply due to my calendar was already approved by my governing board and everything, and Henry County made the change and all that. So that's just, so therefore a week, Henry County students will have governor's school but not have classes. But it also means that somewhere down the line, they're going to have classes at their base school, but they won't have classes at governor's school. So I try as much as I possibly can to make it all work. And students at the Danville site have the same problem at certain days. But it's just, it's impossible to make each calendar match perfectly among all 4 school divisions. So I really strongly urge that you have copies of each calendar on hand and just plop them both on a refrigerator at home and keep them side by side so you can kind of see the similarities and differences between the 2 calendars. Our calendar, I think my assistant put a copy of the calendar when they mailed them schedules and everything a couple of weeks ago. If you did get a copy of it, or if you lost that copy of the calendar, you can go to our webpage. You can find a copy of it there. I know all the base high school divisions have their calendars posted on their websites. So you can go to the respective places' websites and get a copy of those calendars. But I really strongly advise kind of having copies of each calendar. I try to, because like I said, I use an automated call system to communicate with families throughout the year. I try to remind as much as I possibly can and just give people a heads up. Hey, we got a day off coming up. Just let you know and stuff like that. Because I know that even having both copies of calendars, with the 2 different things going on, it can be a little bit confusing. So I try to help out and send reminders as much as I can. All right. The next thing I want to mention is how we deal with inclement weather, which was kind of odd that we had that severe thunderstorm roll through about an hour or 2 ago. And I was going to talk a little bit about this tonight. So inclement weather, we follow what Henry County Public Schools does. Okay. So if Henry County Public Schools decides to close schools because of inclement weather, then Piedmont Governor's School will be closed. If Henry County Public Schools decides that they need to delay school opening for 2 hours, then we will not have governor school classes, okay? And that is because if you go back and look at our start time and end time, it would just make no sense. Our students wouldn't have hardly any time in class, a 2 hour delay. So we don't have classes on a 2 hour delay if that's what Henry County decides to do in terms of their operation schedule. So what they would do in that instance is they would go report to their base high school whenever they need to report for third block. Okay, so they can go there earlier if they want, and they'll provide some kind of supervision and everything for your child, but they absolutely would not have to be there in days like that until their third block class starts. Okay. Now, if Henry County goes on a 1 hour delay, we will open up on a 1 hour delay. So our governor says students reporting at 7:45, they would report at 8:45 for classes. That's not very common. Henry County doesn't use 1 hour delays very often, but it has happened in the last 2 years since I've been at governor school. We have had a 1 hour delay and students have come to the school. I will, like I said, I will send out a call whenever this happens. I use an automated call system. I will send out a call just like the base school divisions do, just to make sure it's clear for everybody that governor school classes will be closed on that specific day. Now, this is due to weather-related closures. I will say if Henry County Schools closes for some non-related, weather-related reason, let's say a school doesn't have power, just use that example, we might still have classes, okay, because that doesn't impact our students' ability to safely come to school. And that doesn't happen very often. Generally, when there's a closure, it's due to weather, it's safety, and we'll close and follow whatever decision Henry County makes. But I just want to throw that out there. There might be a possibility if it's some non-weather related reason why Henry County Schools is closed, but it is safe for students to come here to PH, we might still go ahead and have whole classes anyway. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, one very, very rare instance when it comes to inclement weather and things is if, let's say, Henry County is open, but Martinsville City has decided to close. Okay, that's very rare because generally Henry County and if the weather's bad in Henry County and it's closed school, it's bad enough in Martinsville City closed school as well. But let's just use that hypothetical situation. If that does happen, students who attend Martinsville City schools, if you as the parent deem that it's not safe for your child to travel, then they are excused from attending governor school on that day. Like I said, that is a rare situation that does not happen very often, but it is in our policies, it is in our procedures, because especially when Patrick County was a part of governor school, that happened very commonly with Patrick County. They were closed, but Henry County was open. So that's why that policy is there, it's in place, and we can use that if that happens. But generally, if Henry County is closed, Martinsville City is closed. Now, let's say that schools were open, the students come to school, but then all of a sudden the weather got bad, all of a sudden, and there's a potential to close schools early. That would generally be a decision that I will make in conjunction with the base school divisions. I have had that situation, and I'm on the phone and working along with them. We have to line up bus transportation, all that sort of stuff. But if there's a situation where the weather all of a sudden turns bad very quickly in those morning hours, we will start a process, and I'll work with the base school divisions to safely dismiss students early before the weather gets really, really bad so they can get home and all that. Generally, like I said already, any change in the operation of governor school, I do have an automated messenger system. I will send a call, a notification, whether it's a closure or early dismissal or anything like that. I will send out a call and let parents know that we are having some kind of change to our operational schedule. So, if Henry County closes, we're going to be closed, but I'll still send that communication out anyway to make sure everyone is on the same page. All right, I'm going to pause right there for a second. Any questions about anything that I've covered so far before I move on to the next things? All right, next thing, attendance policies. This is really different from a lot of the school divisions, especially in Henry County schools. So I wanted to just make sure that I talk a little bit about this. I can tell you from working in Henry County schools for as long as I did, there's only 3 things that can get you excused from school in Henry County schools. That's illness, that's has a doctor's note, a death in the family, or court. We, as you can see, have a much larger and much more expansive range of what will excuse an absence. So, I mean, if you're sick, we'll excuse your absence. We do need some kind of parental documentation before the student comes back, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. You don't have to get a doctor's note to, if your child is sick, to excuse them. A written note from a parent will be sufficient here at Governor's School. We will accept that. But we will excuse an absence if the child is sick. There's a death in the family, that's excuse absence. If your child has a medical appointment in the morning, if they do have a medical appointment and have to miss Governor's School, we do ask go ahead and just get a doctor's note. It just makes it easy on everybody. The doctor's office is generally able to just give you one right before you walk out the door. If you have court, we'll excuse that. Any kind of religious observances that a child or their family may have, we'll excuse that. Participation in school-based activity. This comes up a lot. A lot of our students are very active in their base high schools, as they should be. And so if your child has something going on, say band or athletics or anything, and they have to miss Governor's School classes, we will excuse that. We do ask that the student we ask that the student let their teacher know in advance that they will be missing those. Because generally students know in advance when they're going to be missing Governor's School due to some kind of school-based activity. But that your child will be excused for any kind of school-based activities that they might miss at their base high school. College visits. All of our students are planning on going to 4-year colleges. So we do allow for students if they, especially maybe towards the end of junior year and in the early part of senior year, if they need to go and visit a college they're interested in attending after high school, we do allow up to 2 per year. But do let me know beforehand just so that I can approve that and let your child's teachers know, hey, the student's going to be out due to a college visit on such and such date. So that is, we do excuse absences due to college visits and any kind of emergency. And that's on a case-by-case basis, and that's just something that you will work out with me on an individual basis. Now, like I said, we do ask that, in order to excuse absences, we do need some kind of documentation from the parents to verify that that absence, was for one of those listed reasons that I just showed you all. A parent note or an email is sufficient. That's really all I need in terms of documentation on that. The earlier you can get it to me, the better. So like if that day your child wakes up, they're running a fever and, we love your kids, but we don't want them in school when they're having a fever for a lot of reasons. You can just shoot me an email that morning and that will count as documentation for excusing their absence for that day, okay? But we do ask that we get that documentation within 24 hours of when they return to school. And we share this with the teachers because our teachers do. If a student is unexcused, our policy is they don't have to make up work that they miss. So they have a test and they just lay out, but they don't have an excuse. They don't have a valid excuse or reason why they laid out. The teacher does not have to allow them to make up that test. So it's very, very important that you get the documentation as soon as they return to school or even that day. Like I said, email will count as written documentation that the child is absent. You can also call the main office and speak to my administrative assistant, Ms. East. I ask that if you call, you speak to her, not me, because I go back and forth between Danville. So you may call and go dial my number, and I'm not there, and I won't get it until the next day or something. So I do ask that if you call, that you speak to my, you dial the extension for my administrative assistant, because she's here at the office every day here at Martinsville. Any questions on attendance? That's a lot of stuff right there. All right. The next thing is just, just the protocol that I ask, for parents and students in terms of any kind of concerns or anything that you may have in terms of Governor's School. The first step, let me back up for a minute. One of the things I believe very strongly in is I believe in building student agency in this program. And what I mean by that is building student responsibility and ownership of their education. Because every single student that comes to Piedmont Governor's School is college bound. Otherwise, you wouldn't be coming to this, the child wouldn't be coming to this program. They're going to go to a four-year institution, university after high school. And for any of us in this room who's been to college, you know that there's a lot of responsibility that's thrust upon a student immediately when they walk on a college campus. And so I believe one of our important things that we need to do as educators here at Governor's School is to help support our students in this environment now when they're not paying for college and all that, and help them support them in building that ownership and responsibility over their education. Because when they go to college, it's all on them. There's no other responsibility. And I know for parents, a lot of parents will think, well, I'm the one cutting the check, but I can tell you, especially here on PH's campus, they're very much, they don't really talk to parents. They expect kids to handle things and stuff like that. And so I don't necessarily believe that's 100% what needs to happen, because kids are still kids. They're still in high school for a reason. But I do believe in building an environment for students to start taking ownership and responsibility in baby steps over their education, because when they go to college, they're definitely going to have to do that. So if there's ever a concern or a question about anything academically, the first step that I ask that students do is they try to talk to the teacher themselves, and do it in a very, very, very respectful way. I don't like emails. And I'm not saying for that personally. I just don't like emails, when it's talking about dealing with things, because a lot of misconceptions and things can happen in email. So for those students in the room, if you have a question from one of your teachers, the best way to handle that is to talk to them after class. Just say, hey, can I talk to you after class, Mr. Bocop? And then, you and the teacher just have a conversation and talk about it, okay? Send it an email at 1 o'clock in the morning if you're really upset and frustrated. Generally doesn't really work very well a lot of times in the student's favor. So I really, really urge students, when they do talk with a teacher about a concern, that they do it face to face and everything. And don't do it like in the middle of class, because that also, it's not any other student's business, your question, your concern, but B, it's not the appropriate place. Talk to your teacher at the class. Our teachers are really awesome. They're really great. They're not mean ogres that don't want to help students and don't want to work with students and don't want to answer their questions. They're really, 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 really good to work with. So I really, for the students in the room right now, I really, really encourage you, don't be shy to talk with your teachers if you have a question or a concern about something. So that would be the first step. But let's say that doesn't bring any satisfaction. The next step is parents. I would ask that you have a conversation with a teacher. Email a teacher, call a teacher. Each of our teachers have their own individual phone lines here. You can call them, leave a message. They'll get back to you. My expectation is that everyone is supposed to get back to any kind of parent calls within 24 hours or less. That's my expectation for my teachers and for my staff. That's my expectation for myself as well. Just email them, call them, and then have a conversation with the teacher. Because I found that most times when you just talk to the teacher, it generally tends to resolve itself right there. But let's say then if it doesn't resolve itself right there, then most certainly reach out to me. Okay. So reach out to me, call me, then I will look into it and I will see in terms of whatever the concern, whatever the question is, I will look into it on my end and deal with it in a fair way. And that's I say that intentionally. I deal with anything in the fair way, what's fair and what's right. Okay. So you may not agree with what I think is wrong, but I try as much as I possibly can to deal with any situation in a fair and in the right way. for everyone involved. Okay. All right. The next thing is being a guest in our host site. So here we're a guest at Patrick Henry Community College, and Patrick Henry is an awesome host site for us. I really can't complain about what Patrick Henry does for our program. They really do a great job. And as part of that partnership we have with Patrick Henry, I do ask a few things from our students in terms of just being good guests at our host site. One is be respectful of our classrooms and meeting rooms and offices. This is a college campus. There are classes going on, so just keep the noise down and all that in the hallways. I mean, it's not like high school where everyone is changing classes all at the same time. We generally are changing when other classes are in session. So just please kind of try to be respectful as you go through the hallways of the different buildings. Also, only travel to only the areas that pertain to your classes. I shouldn't find out that, and this has happened before, I shouldn't find out that one of my students is in the gym at Stone Hall playing basketball. That's not, there's no situation, no scenario that one of the Governor's School students should be over there shooting hoops during the Governor's School day. Okay, so our classes are kind of spread out across campus, so you're going to have to travel from one building to another for the most part during the day. So, but don't take detours to different places where you really don't need to be and everything. Also, I do also kind of stress as well, because we're on a college campus, there's a lot of vehicle traffic and everything like that. So please, as you're walking from one building to another, please follow the crosswalks and just general pedestrian rules. Pay attention to your surroundings. Make sure don't be walking around with your earbuds in. Not knowing what's going on and things like that. We just want to make sure that everyone's safe and no one gets hurt or anything like that as we're walking through campus. I've already talked about parking designated areas. This should say PH employees, but please, if anyone from PH kind of gives anybody a directive, just follow it. If you kind of think it's kind of odd or undeserved, whatever, come have a conversation with me, and then I'll look a little bit further into it, kind of see why they might have told you to do something strange or whatever. But generally, this isn't, generally PH folks don't really have any pause to have to say anything to our students. We got great kids who follow the rules. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here at Governor's School. But sometimes they may ask you to do something. I just do ask that you do it. If you have a question about it, come see me, and I'll figure out more about it. And the last thing right there, don't hang around in the parking lot after classes are over. Mainly because you need to get back to base high school because you got classes there in the afternoon. But also, they just don't want people kind of loitering around the parking lots and things like that. So as soon as your classes are over, go to your car, go to your vehicle. Yeah. Now, if you have a teacher that you've worked it out with a teacher to hang around a little bit, you may want to get some extra help or tutoring, that's completely fine, totally acceptable. No problem with that whatsoever. What I mean by that is just hanging out in the parking lot with friends and just having a good old time and stuff like that. The PH doesn't want our students and everything doing that. So just please make sure that you leave as soon as classes are over. All right. Governor's School is, the school division's asked me to talk a little bit about this. Governor's School is designed to be a 2-year commitment. Okay. So, and the reason is base school divisions do invest financially in each student that comes to Governor's School. They not only pay for their tuition for their classes here at Piedmont Governor's School, but they also pay, contribute financially for each student for the operation costs of Governor's School. So I'm not going to get into the exact cost for that each school division pays for each student, but just know that the school divisions have made a financial commitment for you to attend here. And so they really don't want you to just up and leave after a month or 2 months. And it's really not the best thing for you, the student. And parents, I'm going to say this. You might hear some grumblings from your kid about about maybe the middle of September, early October, and stuff like that. It is normal. You know, it's part of the growing pains of transitioning to governor's school and being a college student, because that's what students who come to governor's school, they're college students. They're still in high school, but they have become a college student. They're taking basically the same academic load when you combine their dual enrollment classes at their base high school. They're taking the same academic load as a freshman or sophomore in college. So it's gonna be a little bit of a shock at times, and there's gonna be some kind of grumblings, and I'll talk a little bit about some of those things. But just reassure them, and understand as a parent, it is normal. Students, they kind of get to about October, and it's kind of like a low point, but then things start kind of picking up, start figuring out, and then by November and December, everything's all great and glorious with the world. They're loving governor's school. They're loving everything about it. It's just, it is a little bit of a rocky transition, though. It can be, not for everybody, but it can be for a lot of students. Okay, but it is the expectation of school divisions that once a student starts governor's school, they remain into it. And it's definitely not in a student's interest to leave governor's school in the middle of a semester, because the problem is that if they left, if the school division allowed them to leave, the problem is there's nowhere really to put them in their base high school because of just academic requirements and seat time requirements and things like that. So it's really important for students to ride it out. Now, if there's a situation where a child is really in governor's school is not a good fit for them, there is an exit process. I don't think that's going to be a situation for anybody. I don't think that it will be a situation at all. But I just want to mention there is an exit process. So when we get into that situation, call me. We'll have a conversation and we can talk through that. But I really do strongly believe it's not in the kid's best interest to leave in the middle of the semester. That's just not what's good for the kid academically long term. Okay. Now, we do have a policy about academic deficiency. And again, I don't think it's going to be a problem for anybody, okay? Because everybody's going to come here, everybody's going to do well. However, let's say a student is not doing what they need to do academically. And after meetings and conferences and supports, things like that, all the help that we try to do to give that kid what they need to be successful, they're not meeting their end of the bargain and they're not doing well. So the policy of governor's school is that students are to maintain at least a 2.0 GPA in their governor's school classes. And let's say after the end of the fall semester, a student is below a 2.0. We will put our policy, that student will be on academic probation. And basically, they've got to get that GPA back up over a 2.0 before the end of their junior year. If not, then they will be exited from the program. They will have to go back to their base high school at the end of their junior year for their senior year. Okay. Now, there's another thing too. If a student fails any prerequisite class for governor's school, so to give an example, in the fall, every junior is enrolled through Patrick Henry in Chemistry 111. Okay, that's the college class that they're taking in the fall. And at the end of the fall semester in December, they will have a final grade in 4 credit hours for Chemistry 111 through Patrick Henry Community College. If a student fails Chemistry 111, they cannot sit, and this is Patrick Henry's policy, not my policy, they cannot sit the following semester in Chemistry 112, which is what they will take in the second semester. So if that happens, if a student fails one semester in one class in Chemistry 111, I unfortunately have no choice but to have that student return back to their base high school in the spring semester, because PH will not allow them to sit in Chemistry 112. And again, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir by saying all this, but I feel like I've got to say it anyway, because it is our policy and it is something that we have to be mindful of and make sure that we're aware of. I closely monitor every student's grades, and I try to jump on everything before it becomes a huge problem where a student is beyond returning. I don't want any students going back. I want them to stay, and most of our students do stay, and they do very, 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 very well. Like I said, the biggest thing is though, this is college, and it's going to expect some of you. And I'll talk about more of you, and I'll talk a little bit about that more in a second. And so you just have to be aware of that and make sure as a student that you're doing what you need to do in order to make sure that you're being successful in your class. Most of our kids, they're not even coming close to that 2.0. I mean, they've got 4.0s in government school classes, 3.9s, 3.8s. I mean, it's, they do just as well academically here as they did in their base high school. But it is their policy, and I do want to mention it and talk about it. All right, I'm going to pause right there again for a second and see if there's any questions before I talk about the last thing I want to talk about. And those are just advice and things for a successful transition to government school. All right, so this last thing I wanted to mention with everyone tonight, this is good for the parents to hear, but this is mainly the target audience of this is for students. And all of these things that I have on here, this is not my opinions or my thoughts. These are things that former governor's school students have communicated to me over the last couple of years since I've been here. Because one of the things that I really believe strongly is I like to listen to students. I like to talk to students. I like to get their input. I like to get their thoughts about things. And one of the things that I always like to have asked students for the last several years is, if you had the chance and the opportunity to talk to a new student coming in, what advice, what would you tell them? What was a lesson that you learned and maybe learned the hard way that you would want to impart on somebody else? So I've got 5 things, and the last thing is my thing for students. But I've got 5 things that students have told me time and time again as kind of advice that they have for students coming into government school that they would like to share with them. And the first one is having a growth mindset. Okay, and to kind of start off with this, I've said this several times already tonight, and I probably sound like a broken record by now, but governor's school classes will be more challenging than what you've experienced previously at school. Each student sitting in here and anybody watching online later on, you're all got here because you're really good students, you're hardworking students, gifted students, and probably, I would dare say, high school has come easy for you so far. You have not had to really have to work really hard to get where you are right now. Okay, I don't see any nods or anything, but that might be just shyness or everything. And that was my experience as a student. I mean, I had a couple of classes here or there that challenged me and pushed me, but mostly when I went through high school, I graduated from Bassett High School many years ago. Bassett High School was a breeze. It was easy. I didn't have to really work very hard. I didn't have to study. I didn't have to do anything to get straight A's. I mean, it just kind of came natural. But it's when I got to college, as a freshman, as an 18-year-old young man, when I first got my first dose of really having to work and really having to kind of push myself academically as a student. And that's what's going to happen for each and every governor's school student at some point. They're going to, because you're in college. Okay, I've said that several times, but that's the truth. You're in college. You're getting ready to start college, and it's going to challenge you. And the thing is that pretty much throughout your entire life, you've equated A's with intelligence. You said, because I make all A's, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, okay? The problem with that is, what happens when you don't make an A? What happens when you get that first, kind of test or report and you get something other than A? Then you start to question yourself. You start to wonder, am I really intelligent? Has this all been fake? Has this all been a ruse? Have I been lying to myself? Have my teachers been lying to me? Have my parents been lying to me? What is going on? There's like this existential crisis that goes in your mind. It makes you question whether you really are truly intelligent. And I want to say to you all tonight that this is not true. A's do not equate to intelligence. There are plenty of not so intelligent people that can make A's, and there are plenty of brilliant people that make grades less than A. Grades do not define your intelligence, okay? So what does make your intelligence, okay? Where is your intelligence at, okay? And this kind of goes from some of the work of a psychologist by the name of Carol Dweck. And she talks about, intelligent people having two different mindsets when it comes to not just intelligence, but anything in life. You've got the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The fixed mindset, people believe you're born with it, okay? I'm a math person. I was born to do well at math. I was born to be an athlete. I was born to be a baseball player, a basketball player, whatever. They think that whatever talents and ability you have, it's in your DNA. You're born with it. There's nothing that you can do. It was just an accident and a miracle of my birth. I was blessed at birth, and this is why I am who I am. Growth mindset, on the other hand, is a little bit different, and it looks at your abilities, whether it's academically or any other thing in life, and says, while there might be a little bit of, traits within you that might give you a little bit of an advantage in certain things, like some people are kind of born with some athletic gifts and stuff. My wife, not born with athletic gifts and stuff. She'll be the first one to tell you. But, with practice and effort and really, really, really going at something and trying and working hard, then you can grow your abilities in anything. And so I really believe very strongly in this idea of the growth mindset. I really do believe in it. I don't believe that your intelligence is just you got it, this is what it is, and there's nothing else you can do about it. Because otherwise, why are you here in school? If you are just born smart and that's it, and there's no way to make yourself smarter, then why are we here? Okay? There is always a way to get better at anything you are. Yeah, y'all are all very, very bright and brilliant and smart individuals, but you can be so much more. And that's what we're here to do, is to help you and grow you and make you even better than where you are right now. And so it comes down to that deliberate practice and those types of things. And so I'm getting preachy here, because what I want you, especially the students in here, to kind of come away with is, you're going to get challenged, you're going to get pushed, and you're going to have moments where you feel like this is not right. I'm not used to this. I'm not used to being uncomfortable and not understanding something immediately when the teacher says it, or just sitting like a sponge in a classroom and just soaking everything up and then going to the test and making a 100. I mean, you're going to have moments where you're going to be uncomfortable here at Governor's School. You're going to feel like, what is this feeling? I don't understand something immediately. What's going on? Should I be here? There's maybe somebody a mistake or something. Okay, relax. It's okay. Okay, because the reality is, you're not expected to know everything immediately right now. That's not what defines you as an individual. It's okay to have to learn something and struggle and go through it, and that's what's going to happen. And so when you get to those moments where you don't feel like you have it, or you don't understand what's going on, or you're in Miss Harrell's pre-calculus class, you're like, oh, what's this stuff? Remember, you don't have it yet, but with some work and with some effort and focusing and just really, 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 really working hard and studying and asking the right questions and all those different things, you will get it. Okay? Don't feel like the first time you struggle with something, you don't deserve to be here. Okay? Because that's something that a lot of former students have told me in the past. When they first got here and they first struggled, they start questioning themselves. They start questioning whether they deserve to be here. You all deserve to be here. You're all smart individuals. Okay? A's don't define your intelligence. Okay? Your work ethic, your resiliency, your ability to bounce back and push and work hard. That's what defines you. And that's what defines success. Okay? Not A's on a piece of paper. Okay? So that's the first thing that I would say, piece of advice. And that comes from the kids. That's got a little bit of my preaching involved with that as well. Second thing, kind of going along with grades, is keep the grades in proper perspective. You know, everyone in this room, parents, students, everyone included, your grades are important. And I don't want anything that I have to say for the next couple of minutes to come out and sound like I don't think grades are important, because I do think grades are important. I know how important grades are for a multitude of reasons, okay? But one of the things that a lot of former governor school students have told to me is they get very, very, very stressed, especially when they first come here to governor school, because it is more challenging. It is pushing them. And they are starting to get some grades that are a little bit less than the 100s and the 95s and maybe even the A's. They might start getting B's and, oh Lord, God forbid, a C on something. And they start panicking. They start freaking out because they start thinking that, oh my gosh, governor school is a GPA killer, okay? It's killing my GPA. I'm not going to get into college. Why did I do this? I should have stayed at my base high school. This is a mistake. What am I doing? What am I doing? Okay. So, a couple of things. Okay. First of all, this is not true. Okay. Governor school is not the GPA killer. Now, let me tell you why. Each participating school division, they weight dual enrollment classes. All of our classes here at Governor School are dually enrolled. So they weight dual enrollment classes, which means they give more GPA points to students in dual enrollment classes than students in regular classes. Up until this point, most of the classes you've ever taken in high school is a regular high school class. So you've only gotten a maximum of 4 GPA points for that class. To get it, if you got an A in it, you got a maximum of 4. Here in governor school, you get way more than 4 points for getting an A in a governor school class. You can get up to 5 GPA points in Henry County and Martinsville City for making an A in a governor school class. But as you also see on this chart, this comes directly from Henry County's webpage. I didn't make this up. This is their grading scale and their GPA scale. Even, let's say you didn't get an A. Let's say you got a B plus one semester in a class, okay? Because, and I say semester because this is another misconception. GPAs are only calculated at the end of a semester. They're not calculated at the end of each grading period. Schools only calculate GPAs at the end of those 90-day semester periods. So let's say at the end of a semester, let's say you finished with a B plus. Well, as you see, that's a 4.3 GPA. Now, I wasn't a math teacher. Okay, I was a history teacher before I got to administration. So forgive me a little bit. I mean, I'm not the expert on math, but I do know a little enough about math to know that 4.3 can actually make your GPA go higher if all you've ever had was a 4.0 rather than go down. So I just say this for one to just say, you know, if you start, don't panic because, you know, if you get your first grade, that's something other than an A. Because the reason why each school division weights dual enrollment classes and gives them more GPA points is they understand it's a college class. It's going to be and demand more of a student to get an A. And it's not going to be as easy to get an A as it would be in a regular high school class. So this is their way to reward a student for challenging themselves and pushing themselves. And here's Martinsville's grading scale as well for those who are Martinsville City students. A little bit different, but same concept. You get rewarded for taking dual enrollment classes. Now, the thing that I also want to say about this is I know the end goal for everyone in here, and that's to go to college or university. I promise you, even if you make a B here or there in the dual enrollment classes, that is more impressive to the college or university you want to go to than the student that didn't take a single dual enrollment class and may have gotten all A's. Okay, just putting governor school on your college resume is going to open so many doors for you than, you know, if you weren't here. Okay, so this is what I mean by putting grades in their proper perspective. Don't stress yourself out. Don't get filled with anxiety the first time you get a grade that might be less than an A, okay? Because it'll be all right, okay? It's about it's the process. Trust the process. Okay. There's some basketball coaches said that, I think, somewhere, but it's true. Trust the process. Just stay with it. It'll be okay if that happens. Okay. Because you will be rewarded in the end. Our seniors that graduated this year, I mean, we had one student that got a full ride to Yale. We got so many kids that got so much scholarship money from the colleges that they're going to. This governor's school is going to open so many doors. Okay, so just again, trust the process. It's a 2-year journey. It's not a sprint. Okay, and I promise you'll be fine. Keep the grades in perspective. Don't freak out. Okay, the first time you might get something that's less than an A. Okay, find out why you didn't get the A. Most certainly, most definitely. Get some feedback from your teacher and figure out, okay, well, what do I need to do to do better? Because that's important. But don't think that your whole world has come crashing down because of one grade. Okay, because you will be rewarded for taking these advanced level classes. All right. The next thing that students have told me is collaborate rather than compete. I think one of the beautiful things about Governor's School is an opportunity for students to, we have 3 different high schools coming together to take classes together. And students have an opportunity, and it's so awesome to see this when I go around and go to classes and see students here at Governor's School, seeing students from several different high schools who had no clue about each other before they got here. And then you wouldn't even tell which high school they went to because they developed these lifelong friendships and partnerships. But one ugly thing sometimes that happens, and I've had students tell me about, is some students get here and they're uber competitive. They're like, oh, I gotta make all A's. I can't let Billy sit here and make a 99. I gotta get 100. And they just get uber competitive. And it kind of creates a little bit of a toxic environment within the classroom. And one of the things that Richmond expects out of the Governor's School programs is for each Governor's School program to be a community of learners. This is kind of from their standards and everything. And we can't be a community of learners. We can't come together and put our heads together and work together collaboratively if we're at each other and competing with each other on every single little thing. There is no valedictorian of Governor's School. There's no award for graduating with the highest GPA. There's no, as I've told kids many times, the highest grade you get is 100. Okay, so just be aware. All you can get is 100. You can't get 125 on this assignment. Okay, it's all right. Okay, so just come here and be open and willing to broaden your network and work with other students and get to know other folks, because this is a great opportunity to broaden out your network and learn from other students. One of the things that so many kids tell me is that it's so awesome, and what they love most about Governor's School is that this is an opportunity to be in a classroom with a bunch of like-minded individuals. Everybody's in the same direction. Everyone's got the same goal. Everyone kind of thinks and kind of, maybe a little bit differently, but still kind of overall in the same way. And it's just a really, really awesome and cool opportunity that you may not have as much in your base school. So take advantage of that. Don't come in here like trying to be the biggest and the best and the smartest person in the room. Just work together and have that spirit of collaboration, not competition. All right, 4th thing, time management. Okay, up until now, you probably haven't had to study to get A's on tests. You probably haven't had to complete homework in your classes. You probably haven't had to crack open a book for class. Okay, you're probably like, what's a book? And other than your English classes, you probably haven't had to write any kind of essays or papers or anything. Okay, this probably has been your academic experience up to that point. I hope you've enjoyed it, because those days are gone. Okay, because now you're in Governor's School. These are going to be commonplace to be successful academically in your classes. You're going to have to study. Okay. I don't know many students who come into Governor's School, just soaked up material in class like a sponge and gotten an A on a test. They've had to crack open, they've had to study, they've had to go over notes, things like that. You're going to have some homework. Now, I will say, and I work very much with the teachers on this, you're going to have homework within reason. I don't believe that all you need to be doing in life is doing homework, okay? And I make that very, very, very clear. But I do believe you need to have homework. I do believe you need to be doing something outside of 3 hours that you're here at governor's school, because that's what you will have to do in college. And so, you will have homework. But I will say you're not going to have so much homework that that's all you're ever going to do in your life, okay? You're going to have to read. You're going to have to write things, stuff like that. So this is going to be, your academic experience from this point forward. Don't let that stress you out right now, okay? It is manageable. Plenty of students that before you all have done this, you all will do this as well. And this is going to be good for you, okay? It's like when your parents fed you peas when you were a kid, and they said, it's good for you, okay? You got to eat it, okay? All that stuff, that's good for you. It's going to make you better. It's going to make you a better student in the long run. But the thing is now you're going to have to start managing your time, okay? Because one of the things that I've seen probably more than anything else in new governor's school students that struggle with is time management, because they're not used to their time outside of school now being taken up by school. Because at this point, you've been successful and done everything you need to do, and you haven't had to lift a finger when you've gone home. Well, now you're going to have to do some things when you go home. So how are you going to manage your time? Well, first of all, I really do believe very, very much in a planner, using a planner or calendar. And this is hypocritical for me to say, because I never touched one until literally until I became an administrator, and I had to start using it, or otherwise I wouldn't know whether I was coming or going. But since I've done it, I'm like, where has this been all my life? It's made me much more organized and know what's happening in my life, and it's going to be very, very useful for you all as well. The second thing on here, and I really, I've said this time and time again, because I see so often, governor's school students, because of our AP schedule, let's say you go into pre-calculus, your pre-calculus teacher gives you, all right, maybe like, a couple of problems to do for homework based on what you learned in class that day, okay? Well, and I see this so often. Governor's school students, let's say you have pre-calculus on Monday. They wait, they don't go back to pre-calculus, the homework's not due till Wednesday. So when do they actually do that? When do they do their homework? Just take a guess. Tuesday night at like 9 o'clock in the evening, they're sitting there trying to do their pre-calculus homework for the next day. And guess what? What do those students inevitably always say? I can't remember what you talked about. Exactly. I don't remember what the teacher said. Oh my gosh, it was like, I was in class on Monday, and now it's Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and I don't remember what the teacher said. And I'm like, why did you wait till Tuesday to do your homework? Do it on Monday. Okay, do it on Monday when it's fresh, when it's in your head, when you've been in the class, and you can kind of go back to it. And also gives you time, if you do have that kind of brain block, it gives you time to go to Ms. Harrell and say, hey, Ms. Harrell, I was sitting and doing my homework last night on Tuesday morning, and I didn't understand something. Can you help me out with that? And she can give you that help. But if you're waiting until like 9 o'clock on Tuesday, literally about 12 hours before homework's due the next day, it's going to be hard for you to get in touch with Ms. Harrell and get that help you need. So I really strongly urge governor's school students, do your homework on the day it was assigned. Don't put it off and think, oh, well, I got 2 days to do my homework. Well, you really don't. You don't really have 2 days. Not if you want it fresh in your head and be able to do it when it's going to really, because this is what I hear. Oh, it took me like an hour or 2 hours to do my homework. And I'm like, well, why did it take you so long? Well, it's because I was just struggling with it. And it will save you more time if you do it when it's fresh in your head than opposed to when you wait and put it off and you think, oh, I'll get it done then. And then it, kind of doesn't, it takes you more time than it would have been if you did it on Monday, the day you had the class. Some of these other things, set aside a specific time for work. This is something that I found has been good for me, especially when I've been taking classes. As a working professional, just say, all right, this is when I'm going to work. I'm going to do this. This is my time. I'm going to do that. Put aside everything else, and set aside that time for me. Having a specific area to do it. It's distraction free. And for goodness sakes, kids, put away the cell phones when you're doing your work. I mean, just hand it to your folks, or turn it off, or something. Because it's just when that thing's just constantly just blinging and all that sort of stuff and everything, it's hard for you to just really zero in and do your work. Because I mean, this is the thing I hear so often. Government school students say like, "Oh, it takes so long to do that." But then when I start really kind of peeling back the layers and seeing why it takes the student so long, it's because all of these other little things that they're doing that's distracting them from just sitting down and really doing what they need to do. Get it done, and you'll find that it really kind of kind of helps you, and it gets get it done quicker and stuff. So that's my advice in terms of helping with that time management piece of doing that. All right, the next thing is managing the stress and anxiety. And I talked a little bit about this because our students come to me and talk about being stressed and those types of things, and I don't discount it, and I don't think that it's just kids just whining and complaining. I really do take it seriously in terms of stress and anxiety, and it is going to create government school is going to create stress simply from the fact that as a government school student, I don't know if you all have thought about this very much. Y'all are taking 6 classes this semester. You're taking 4 classes for governor school and 2 classes for your base school. Okay, so that's 6 classes. Now you're not taking all 4 every single day for governor school, but you're taking total 4 classes this semester at governor school. So maybe you haven't thought about that right now. Maybe now all of a sudden your stress level's gone up like 10 times. I'm sorry, but that by itself is a stressor. You're taking 2 extra classes than the typical high school student takes. And so I do recognize and I do understand that this is a stressful environment, just for no other reason for that right there. But also, it's going to be challenging. It's going to demand a little bit more of your time at home to complete your classes and satisfactorily. I mean, there's a lot of things that get thrown into there. So I really believe very strongly we have to take care of ourselves. Okay, you can't do your best in the classroom if you're not taking care of yourself, emotionally and all that. You've got to be able to manage that stress and manage that stress well, because stress can be a good thing. Okay, it can spur us to work and work at our best, but it also can be a very damaging thing very quick and stuff. So some of my tips to help with managing stress, first and foremost, and I see this a lot with governor school students, is that they're so committed to making that A. It's like they're nothing less than an A is good enough. So they're going to put every ounce of something into it in order to make sure they get that A, and that's great. And that's what got you here. But also understand that you need to take time for yourself, because again, you can't be your best in the classroom if you're not taking care of yourself. So take time for yourself each day. Don't make every single day, 7 days a week, all about governor school and your governor school classes. I say it probably more times than my teachers want to hear. You need to monitor your workload. You need to make sure that you're not giving too much work to the kids, that you're giving them the appropriate amount. I say it all the time. When you talk to one of them, they would say, that's probably the thing I say to most of the teachers. I mean, I really, really, really do believe that. But you gotta take time for yourself. Okay. Sometimes students put more work on themselves than what the teachers put on them. Okay. Another thing that I've seen in the past, and it just kills me, is governor school students feeling like they've got to give up something in order to be a governor school student. Well, I got to give up playing the sport that I've been playing my entire life because now I'm a governor school student. Or I got to give up band, or I got to give up dance, or I got to give up this. Yeah, I hear this, and it kills me, because no, we don't want you to give up anything. And in fact, I don't want any student to give up anything to be here, because those things matter. Those things are important. Those activities, yeah, they're not academic, but they're very, very, very important, not just for your social and emotional health, because it's something you enjoy doing, you love doing, it gives you happiness, but it also, let's face it, it's great on your college resume. College admissions deans, if you read what they're looking for in students, they don't necessarily want the students that all they ever did in high school was have their notes before. and made straight A's. I mean, that's impressive, and they probably will be very successful in college. But what they really are looking for is the kid that did that and was on the baseball team, or was drum major of the band, or took dance ever since they were 6 years old. They want the good student and did this, because that shows that that student knows how to prioritize, manage their time. They're well-rounded. That student is more likely to be successful at their institution than the student that just had straight A's and didn't really do anything else. So please, 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 for those students in the room, whatever you're doing before you came to Governor School, keep doing it. Don't quit it. Okay? Do not. Because you can do Governor School and do that at the same time, because you want to have that on your resume when you go to college. I'm going to kind of skip over a couple of these things, because I know I'm running a little bit long here. Sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. I hear it so often. Students talk about I pull all-nighters, and they say it like it's like a badge of honor. And I'm like, how crazy, and maybe it's because I'm getting old and I got to have my beauty rest. I don't know. But even when I was your age, I didn't pull all-nighters. I just didn't, because I don't know, maybe I was just weird. Maybe that's what it was. But I just recognized that if I stayed up all night trying to study for a test, I wasn't going to be worth anything when I actually sat to take that test the next morning. It'd be much better. I was much better off just going to bed, getting some good rest, and then waking up and going to class refreshed and stuff. And I see this, and again, I think it. Again, we got type A students. You guys, we worked hard. You want to make those good grades. You want to do whatever you got to do. And that's not what I say right there. When you got it, you got it. Sometimes you can overstudy. Sometimes you can study too much. And so, have confidence in yourself. When you got it, you got it. Staying up all night ain't going to make it any better. In fact, it might make it worse. So, and pulling too many all-nighters, staying up too late and not getting enough rest is not going to be good for you, both in your stress and your anxiety and those types of things as well. So please, please, please get some rest. I don't want to hear, oh yeah, I pulled an all-nighter, I stayed up all night, because that hurts me too. I don't like hearing that from the students, because that's not what we should be doing, and so make sure that we're doing that. And some of that too comes down to the center here, procrastinating. Sometimes we pull all-nighters because we do it to ourselves. So manage your time and you'll be just fine. All right. The last thing, and this is just me, and I just want to say this, and I want to share more information with everybody as the year goes on about this. But now is the time to start the process of planning for post-high school. Okay. There's a lot of things right now in your junior year you need to be having on your radar screen and starting to do now. And I say this to you all because you all are planning on going to college. I know that. That's why you're here at Governor School. So here's some things to be thinking about this year as you start kind of planning and preparing for that post-secondary academic life. First of all, make sure you're maintaining at least a C average in your DE classes. And I say that because in order for your classes to transfer, you got to have at least a C. A D is passing, but a D does not transfer to a four-year university. Okay, so make sure you're making at least a C. Most everybody's making A's, but like I said, a C, you make sure you at least need to have that. So focus on that, getting that C average in your DE classes. And that's not just in the classes here, but in any dual enrollment classes you're taking at your base high school as well. Same principle applies. You need to have at least a C in order for that class to transfer. Start signing up for your SATs and ACTs if you haven't already started doing so, because it's too late to start taking those tests in your senior year. Because in the fall of your senior year, you need to already have those scores in place so that you can start applying and putting your scores on your college applications. So this year is the time to be taking those college admissions tests and stuff. So kind of go ahead and start, kind of getting prepared and being ready to take those SAT and ACT tests. Also start whittling down and figuring out where you want to go to school. Start kind of researching and kind of getting an idea of what's the best college for you. and there's a lot of different things that go into that. So just go ahead and start that process of figuring out where it is I want to go after I graduate high school. Because I know y'all are like, I haven't even started my 11th grade year. What are you talking about? Let's start college. Trust me, these next 2 years are going to fly by. Before you know it, you're going to be walking across the stage in your high school graduating. So now's the time to start really thinking about that and getting that plan, trying to figure out where you want to go and get kind of a short list of colleges that you want to go to. Also, and I put this in bold, start thinking about what you want to study in college. And the reason why I say this, some people would say it's no, you don't need to really think about that. But you all do. Now, I'm going to tell y'all why. When you graduate from high school, just from your governor's school classes alone, you're going to have about close to 50 college credit hours under your belt. That's the equivalent of almost your first 2 years of college done. Okay, of a 4-year degree done. Then you add the dual enrollment classes you're going to take at your base school, you're going to be graduating with over 60 credit hours, which is the first 2 years of college. So when you all in this room, you're going to college in 2 years, you're basically going to have most of your first 2 years of a 4-year degree pretty much already taken care of. And so you're going to have pretty much no choice but to go directly into a major program and a program of study. Start going into classes of what you want to major in, classes of what career and thing that you want to do. So whereas most students would have like the first 2 years of their 4-year college to kind of figure that out when they're 18, 19 years old, you all kind of need to start figuring that out now because you're kind of doing those first 2 years of college now in your junior and senior year of high school. So start really thinking about that. Now, that's not to say that you can't, you need to graduate high school and know exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life. You still got some wiggle room. But what I'm saying is, if you want to shave some years off of a 4-year degree, if you want to graduate and not, with a 4-year degree in 2 years, you kind of need to know immediately when you graduate what you want to do and go directly to that major program. I know plenty of former governor's school students that graduated high school, took the 4 years at the college and got their 4-year degree. And that's totally fine if that's what you want to do. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to shame anyone, but I'm just trying to put all that information out there. Just put everything in your radar screen of what you need to be thinking about. Okay. And then the spring semester, I'll be talking to you about your senior classes because you get to choose some classes in your senior year. So I'll be talking about what you can do for that. All right, senior year, kind of the same thing, but this is kind of a little bit different. In your senior year, still maintaining your good grades, your classes. You start applying for your colleges in the fall. A lot of you are going to want to do early decision, which those deadlines are in late October, early November. Most regular decision deadlines are in January. So that's kind of gives you a little bit of time frame in your senior year, which you got to be working towards on that. Applying for scholarships in the winter and spring. A lot of those deadlines take place in the spring and time. And all that they announce the awards in the latter half of the spring before you graduate. Fill out your FAFSA, which is the federal student loan information. Everyone's got to do it. And then even if you don't think you're going to qualify for federal aid, you still got to fill out the FAFSA. And then apply for graduation for PHCC. Most of you, every single one of you all in here are going to be, this is the last thing I got tonight, and I'll take any questions you might have. All of you all are going to be eligible to earn the associate's degree in science from Patrick Henry Community College when you finish the governor's school program. In order to get that associate's degree, you have to take, it's not just, there's the classes you take with us, but then there's some classes you will take at your base high school, then a couple of extra little small things that you would have to do. The biggest thing that you would have to do that's extra beyond what you would take at your base high school is this health and wellness credit. PH does require to get the associates in science. Little mouse cursor go away. But they do require you to have a 1 credit hour health and wellness credit. There's 2 things you can do for that. The first thing to get that is you can get CPR certification. Okay, hands-on CPR certification. If you get that during these next 2 years, you turn in. All you got to do is bring us a copy of the certificate they give you when you get the CPR certification. We'll make a copy of it in the office. We'll send it to PH. That'll be your 1 credit hour health and wellness credit. That's it. Very, very, very easy. A lot of our students go that route, especially if students are kind of working being lifeguards during the summer. They got to get it anyway. It's a great way to do that. Okay. The other way to get that health and wellness credit is to take a 1 credit hour medical terminology class. We usually offer it during the spring of the student's senior year. It's all online. It's really easy. We provide the book, all that sort of stuff. So if you don't want to get CPR certified, then the other option would be that. You don't have to get the associate's degree to be a government school student. I'm going to make that very clear. And it's not going to prevent you or do anything from doing anything else if you don't get the associate's degree. It's just a good, kind of feather in your cap, for lack of a better term, to get that associate's degree and graduate high school, not only with a high school diploma, but an associate's degree. And it doesn't require very much extra from you to do it either, because a lot of the classes you got to take at your base high school or classes you can already take. But you're going to be taking English 11. Probably all of you are signed up for DE English 11. You're going to be taking English 12 in the 12th grade year. You're going to be taking U.S. history. You're going to be taking government. So you might as well take them dual enrollment, apply to the associate's degree, and get that associate's degree. Most of our students do graduate with an associate's degree, and it is very easy. It doesn't require much extra for you. All that. So, all right, I've gone through a lot of information and all that. So that's all that I had to share as far as information. And probably for the kids, especially, probably cause some of their heads to explode. And maybe some of y'all, you're kind of questioning why I'm doing this in the first place. But trust me, it's going to all pay off in the end. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to give you information, give you a heads up, because I believe if we know what to expect, know what's coming, we can adjust, we can do something, and we can, and you'll be very, very, very successful. And I know you all will be very successful at government school. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. Is there any questions or anything that anyone has before I wrap up for you?
Technology requirement or suggestion for when they start on the line?
A technology requirement, we do not require a specific technology. I know the base school divisions provide technology for students, and that is sufficient for anything they may need in terms of any work or anything at home. With us coming in person 5 days a week, it's not as as big of a thing as it was last year in terms of having that working technology. I will say, every junior takes a class called ITE, Information Technology. And one issue we ran into last year, and this might not be as big of an issue this year because we're in person, but the issue we ran into last year was particularly, especially with the Henry County students who had iPads, they could not do their work because a lot of that class is learning about all the different things in Microsoft Office and stuff like that. And those iPads don't have Microsoft Office on them. So what we did in that situation is we have a ton of computers and stuff. So we just loaned out PC computers to students who were in that situation. So parents feel compelled to go out and buy a computer on a spur of the moment type of deal. But with classes being in person this year, I don't anticipate that being an issue, because generally a lot of that particular class, a lot of that work is done within the classroom because they go to a computer lab, they're doing a lot of that stuff in that classroom and stuff. So I certainly if anybody wants to get their child a computer, it would not hurt, because, especially when they go off to college, that's going to be something they'll need. And some parents want to go ahead and do a jump start on that, but it's not something that I would say that anybody would have to do right now. What school divisions provide students in terms of the one-to-one technology is definitely sufficient. And we've got plenty of technology within the classroom. I will say I've got no problem whether it's your school issued device or your own personal device. If you want to bring it in for your governor's school classes, got no problem with that. Our teachers have no problem with that. The only thing, the only thing I will say when it comes to technology in the classroom is cell phones. Our teachers are very, very, very like no cell phones. In fact, they have their little cell phone cubbies on each of their doors. So day one, students know you put your little cell phone cubby for the 90-minute block. And when the block is over, you go get your cell phone out of the cubby and stuff. And it's just because, not trying to be mean, but we want your students' undivided attention for that 90 minutes, and it works very well. So cell phones, we're like technology, we're kind of like, yeah, because we want students to be completely 100% engaged when they're in the classroom.
I mean, because they won't have their school issue out there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I'll make sure when the teachers come back next week, just to remind them of that. Just hey, just be aware. With anything that you're required to have students do, our students, especially our Henry County students, won't have that iPad on that first week and stuff. But thank you for bringing that up and all that. And I'll make sure that's known. So as far as anything that first week, generally my teachers kind of ease students in when it comes to homework and work outside of class. They don't, the first day they don't try to go too heavy on the homework and that stuff. Any other questions or anything? Well, I know, I'm sorry, okay. Mass requirement. I knew somebody was going to ask that question, and my answer is we don't know yet. I'm still, my answer to that right now is I'm kind of waiting to hear a little bit about what the school divisions are going to require. And because my feelings is that I don't want us to be too far in either direction from what the school divisions are doing when it comes to that. I will say Patrick Henry's requirement is for just on campus, anyone that's vaccinated are free not to wear a mask. That's why I'm not wearing a mask and all that sort of stuff. Anybody that's not vaccinated, they do ask that they wear masks, but they're not requiring proof of vaccination or anything like that. But I'm still kind of working with the school divisions, waiting to hear what they're coming up with, what they're deciding, and then I'll kind of go from there. So before we start school on the 9th, I will let everybody know what our policy is going to be when it comes to masks and things like that. Either way, my number one goal is I want to make sure that we're all safe, because I'm extremely excited and the teacher's extremely excited that we're going to be 5 days in person. And I want to make sure that we stay that way all 180 days. That's my goal, because it's, and you all know from your own experiences. I mean, the virtual was good, but it had a lot of its drawbacks, and we're super excited to be in a position where we can have in person, and we want to keep that whatever we do. We want to make sure. So if it means that, for a period of time we all got to wear masks while we're on campus, then that's what we'll do. So I want to make sure we're in person. That's the bottom line. I don't want to get to a position where we're not. So, but I will, before school starts, I'm anticipating by the end of this week hearing from the school divisions exactly what they decided, and I'll go from there. Any other questions? All right. Well, I know in like a lot of these things, you get way halfway down the road going home, and you're like, oh, I should have asked that. So if you have a question, just feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email. Like I said, my policy is within 24 hours. I'll get back to you. Usually I do better than 24 hours, but I just give myself a 24-hour window to get back with folks. I try not to ignore anybody. We do have open house next Wednesday. I think that's the 4th of August from 12 to 7. The teachers will be here next Wednesday, so you can meet your child's teacher and kind of go around campus and see where everything's at. We'll be set up in West Hall. We'll have a table out there in that main kind of foyer area right as you go in, right in front of the flagpoles right there. That's where we'll have a table. So we'll just come in right there. We'll be set up. We'll direct you where to go and all that stuff and everything. Also, PH is also going to have representatives here from 9 to 4, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, so that your child can sign up or register for their dual enrollment classes. So they can just take care of it on Wednesday, or if it works better to come in on Monday or Tuesday next week, they can do that as well. So that's kind of an important step for PH. So make sure one of those 3 days next week
Yeah, and parents don't have to be there with your kid. You just want to send your kid on their own to do that. That's totally fine. Because all they need to do is, because they pretty much already have their classes already put together on a piece of paper, all the kid needs to do is just sign their name to it that they're taking these classes. So it's a pretty simple process, but they do need to do that in order to be officially registered for the fall at PH. So, all right. Well, thank you all for coming out, and I'm sorry that I took a little bit. I was trying to say within an hour, and then I'm sorry, I talked too much. So I apologize. But anyway, if you have any other questions, please let me know. And I'm super excited for this year. I'm super excited to work with your kids. And if I can do anything for you or for your child, just let me know. That's why I'm here. All right. Thank y'all. And see y'all in a couple weeks.